Hey y'all. So, Spirit has been on me for weeks to share this dream that I'm about to share with you. And I just want you to remember that as I go through the dream, I want you to remember that dreams symbolize what we are experiencing internally as well as what we are experiencing as a collective, okay? So the messages are sent to us to assist us in navigating those experiences. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Trump gathered a lot of families, and he had all of these families brought to a secure location. And all of us were like, what's going on? WTF, basically, what's going on? We have no clue. And my husband and I, we were in the army truck, and we were like, we felt no fear. We were just like, okay, what's going on? And things like that. We arrive to this secure location, and in this secure location, like I said, it was other families there. And there were snacks, just tons of snacks for the kids. So the kids were able to grab a snack, grab some food, and Trump staff proceeded to play us a cartoon. And all the cartoons that were being shown were of heroes and villains. Okay? Heroes and villains. If you're a Marvel kid like me, we get it, right? It was about heroes and villains. So they were like fighting and things like that. And there was a couple of clips that went by, and I saw a lot of familiar faces as far as, what we see in Marvel. Now, mind you, I have not watched a Marvel cartoon in like 6 months. So for me to see that in my dream, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Then fast forward, a couple of more clips were shown, and I see Newt's face. If you don't know who Newt or Nun is, Nut or Nun, who I call her Nun, Nun's face was shown on screen, and she was fighting someone. And in the cartoon, they even said her name. They said Nut, Nut. Nut is the great mother of the sky. She is the Neteru in Kemet, who is Great Mother Sky. Okay, so look her up. When you get the time, look her up. When I heard her name, for those who know me, and if you don't know, I will let you know now that source, or the energy that I commune with very often, are the mothers, the divine mothers. Okay. Now, when I heard her name, I said, oh, I was comforted. I already didn't have any fear, but when I heard her name, I felt at ease. I felt nurtured. I felt calm. Okay. Let me continue with this dream. So, they're shown all these clips, heroes and villains, and Nut is fighting someone. And of course, she's winning. But if you have ever seen Nut, Nut's face and her whole body is of stars, okay? So, some people may have perceived her as the villain, but in this story, or in this cartoon, she was showing that she's not the villain. And we were like, oh, my husband and I, we were like, oh, that's new, and things like that. Fast forward, Trump gets up there and he says, what you see here, these deities and energies and different people fighting against each other. These energies are real and they have arrived to planet Earth. This is what he said to all of us. And we were like, those of us who know certain things, we were like, okay, okay, we hear you, right? Everybody in there was very calm. There wasn't any panic. There wasn't anything like that. Everyone was calm. And he said, walk up according to your name, walk up and get your package. And he said that the younger children will share a package. And I said, all of the parents said, okay, okay. So we walked up. We received this package. It was like in a book bag, like a drawstring book bag. And he said, good luck. This is what he told us. He said, good luck. And he walks out. And we were like, okay, it's interesting. And he told us to get a package. We got the package, right? So we're opening up the package and we're looking inside of it. And as a matter of fact, something that sticks out to me that I need to make sure, something that really sticks out to me is he had every individual go up and get their package. Like, it wasn't like, my husband could get my package for me and for the kids. Everyone had to walk up, except for the younger children, had to walk up and get their own package. So if you had a child that was like over 6 years old or 7 years old, they were going up and getting their own drawstring bag, okay? So we're opening up the bags, right? And my husband, in his bag, he had this beacon, and all of us had a beacon. And so he pulls it out and he looks at it and he's like, this is military grade, He's like, interesting. And he puts it back in the bag. Now, we're all leaving. We're all preparing to leave. When we get into the Army truck and we're driving off, all I see is chaos. Now, mind you, when we came in, it wasn't like that. The outside was not like that. But when we left the building, we see chaos, all chaos. And so, mind you, we're all still calm. We're all still calm. And we're just observing. We're looking around, we're observing. And we're like, okay, what the hell is happening? What is happening? And chaos was everywhere. It was everywhere. And the children, we were trying to shield them from seeing everything that was going on because, it was not for children's eyes to see. And my husband went and he got something from the store, and we were, myself and the children, we were like, okay, we'll be here. We'll meet you here in this particular space. And he was like, okay. So as I was waking up from the dream, I heard Armageddon whispered into my ear. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Now let's get into the messages of this dream. Now, the point, I honestly felt in my spirit that the reason this needed to be shared is for the message of this dream and the importance of community. So let me get into what the messages are. I have my journal, so I'm going to read it straight from my journal. Okay, so this dream is clearly exhibiting a split in consciousness and conscious awareness. During this time, it is important to place your intention and energy into spaces that keep your vibration high and steady. To be around beings who are picking up on the same broadcasted message or frequency as you, and who also have the same moral compass as you. And this reduces internal division. This split has been occurring for some time, but now it is even more apparent. Be aware of those seeking to siphon your energy through low vibrational dialogue or petty arguments. The beacon represents your awareness, your consciousness, utilizing discernment. Right now, there may be a lot of people around you living in fear, which expresses itself as paranoia or chaos. You may feel like these individuals have a chip on their shoulder or a monkey on their back. They are just scared and truly do not know what to do. Support them with love. Let them find their own Let them find their own truth, and do not engage unless spirit guides you to. What's happening is your energy, every time that you engage with these individuals, your energy, your awareness is being pulled down into a lower vibrational frequency. And that's why some of you may be feeling very drained afterwards. Okay? During this time, you may be called to do various forms of detox, media, food, people. And during this process, it's important that you breathe and know that all is well. Release anxiety and panic. In moments of uncertainty, we must learn to trust that we are okay. Say it with me. I am okay. Some things may be rocky around you. Be like water. Claim no enemy. Be steady in your being and prepare the best way that you can. When systems are unsteady and they shake, steady people rise. Conscious people rise. Right now will be the time to decide who you will be. Now, that's the message that I wrote immediately after waking up. Now, let's get into the details. A little more into the details, because if you're anything like me, as I have these dreams, you start to get messages like over a course of days to really integrate what you saw and what you experienced. The first thing I wondered was, what is Armageddon? Because to be honest with y'all, I was not raised in Christianity, so I truly did not know what Armageddon was. And so I had to do some research and look it up and see what it was. And turns out it was a great war. And for those of you who are Christian, let me know in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. But it was a war between good and evil, so to speak, right? Good and bad, right? And so what that symbolizes within us and in our environment as a collective is good versus evil. I told you all that when we came out of this secure location, all I saw was chaos. All I saw was chaos, right? And that lower vibrational energy, there's a split occurring, okay? There's a clear divide that is occurring right now where even the simplest conversations that you could usually have with people can't, like, it's like pulling teeth at this point. And it's becoming difficult for us to be on the same frequency, or for those of us who are on a frequency where we have a little more peace, we have a little bit more joy, our vibrations are really high. It's becoming even more difficult for us to go, like, to bring our consciousness lower in order to have conversations that could turn into arguments, that could turn into, just unnecessary chaos. It's becoming even harder for us to do that. So, it's very important that in this moment you use your discernment. You do not always have to engage in things or give your energy to something or a discussion. You really need to have discernment and see if it's something that you want to do. And this message is for, when you hear this message, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. You need to be aware of where you're putting your energy. Everything does not deserve your attention. And by putting your energy everywhere and tapping into everything, you're bringing your energy into a lower frequency. And you feel it because you feel extremely drained. Okay? And so that split is becoming even more apparent, even more clear for us. And I also hear questions being asked, well, how do you raise your frequency? You raise your frequency by being aware of yourself and your environment. And if you all want more tips on that, please drop it in the comments, okay? So something else that really stood out in this dream. Number one, Nut. Nut stood out to me in this dream. Like I said, Nut is a mother. She's a divine mother. And so when I saw her face, I felt very comforted, in knowing that this message came from her, this message came from her. And it was very clear to me that she had sent this to me. Something else that was interesting was the fact that Trump was the one that brought all these families together. That was interesting. And we could go into more decodes later, but my goal here was to really get the dream out and share with you all. So, if you have noticed that there has been a shift in awareness in the people around you or in your communities, drop a comment below. Let's start a dialogue about this, because the more we talk and the more we communicate as community, the more we can share information and we can understand what is happening. We can navigate what is happening a little easier. In the dream, one thing that really stood out to me that I will say in this video is that all of the families that were gathered together were extremely calm. Extremely calm. That community was there. The essence of togetherness was there. And so let us create that in the comments. Let us create that in regards to this dream. If you have questions or anything like that, comments, anything like that, drop it in the comments below. Let us communicate as community. All right. I will be uploading some more information and messages that I received from this dream. Until next time, see y'all soon.